Esther is due on the dyno again tonight. Oil leak. It's a bodge. Fresh set of injectors. Evo Porsche TVR here now as well. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes, and today I had to call my work up to tell them that I couldn't come in due to a domestic issue. Now that's not something that I like to do, but at the end of the day my children are way more important than my day job. Now I don't have any human children, but Esther, my ST170 powered Mk1 Escort, is due on the dyno again tonight with Chris Todd. Now since the last video I've done a couple of little jobs on Esther, so I'll just talk you through those now. In the last video I mentioned that I had another oil leak which I thought was the front crank seal, and I've now replaced that front crank seal with one from my friends at Burton Power. As always, I'll leave a link to their website in the description of this video. Before I was saying that the Burton Power ones were pay-in seals, but they are in fact Victor Rhines ones. I bought two just in case I messed it up. Now this seal was a lot more tight to go in than the BGA one that I fitted before. You know, this one had to be pressed in, whereas the old one just fell in. And looking at this, it has got the furry bit on the front, which I think is the same as the Ford ones. Maybe Ford do fit Victor Rhines ones from the factory, I'm not sure, but if you know, then do let us know in the comments. But as I say, the Victor Rhines one definitely felt a lot better when it was going in. One thing I did a bit differently this time, as well as greasing the inside of the seal where it slides over the crank, once I'd sort of pressed it in halfway, I then put a little bit of sealer around the outside of the seal. I'm not sure if you're supposed to put sealer on them, to be honest, but when I was looking on the internet, it's definitely something that some people do. But as I say, the Victor Rhines one did go in nice and tight, so I think it would have been all right without sealer anyway. Another thing I did today was fit one set of my spare ST170 injectors to this engine, and as I mentioned before, my spare sets of injectors were very kindly reconditioned for me by a company called Bell's Auto Services. I simply posted my injectors to Bell's Auto Services, and within a couple of days the injectors were back with me, and even came with this cool printout that shows, you know, the state of the injectors before they were cleaned, in terms of the leak test, the spray pattern and the flow rate, and yeah, the same again after they'd cleaned them out and put new filters in. I'll leave links to their Facebook page and their Instagram in the description. Definitely go and give them a follow. Now unfortunately, after I took this car for a rip today, I've noticed another oil leak. I'm thinking that maybe the crank seal wasn't actually leaking this time, and it was in fact the sump gasket again. Now where it's coming from is this front corner here of the sump. What I did today is I've basically cleaned the area as best I can with brake cleaner, and I've chucked a load of sealer on there. You know, it's a bodge and it's probably not going to stop the leak, but I'm hoping it'll slow it down a little bit. Now the leak is literally just a weep. You know, it only leaks when you're revving it under load and it just runs down the sump. You know, it doesn't really drip off until obviously it gets to the back of the sump. I haven't driven the car since I've put that sealer on. I'm trying to leave it as long as possible, you know, to let the sealer go off as best as possible before I head up to Surrey Rolling Road to hopefully get Esther on the dyno. Now, luckily, Chris is actually tuning another car this evening, so if I get there and get turned away, it's not like I've completely wasted his evening, but I'm hoping we can at least get it on there just to check that the map is safe and hopefully get a power run. I'm guessing that it's not going to need much mapping anyway, because as you know, I've just swapped a stock ST170 for another stock ST170. But yeah, with a fresh set of injectors and, you know, potentially a little tweak to the map, maybe this engine will make a little bit more power, who knows. In the last video I also mentioned that I was getting some coolant inside the car from the heater. What I've now done is I've bypassed the heater for now. I've had to change the fitting back to the old one, which is a 16mm outer diameter fitting, so it suits a 16mm inner diameter hose. Those who've been watching my videos will remember that I had to change that fitting because I'm using the retro Ford hoses, which are obviously made to suit the retro Ford water rail, and it's basically 16mm at the heater end, but 19mm at the other end. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this in an old video, but the hose was a bit long for my application. Basically, I'm assuming that the fitting on the retro forward water rail was a bit more this way. So what I did is I undone the Jubilee clip that was holding it onto the fitting and then cut a slit in the hose, which then enabled me to pull the hose this way, you know, over the hex of the fitting that I was using. And then I've done the Jubilee clip back up. What I realised yesterday when I was doing this job is that the Jubilee clip wasn't actually biting on the fitting. Now what I intend to do at some point in the near future is get a 16mm 90-degree bit of hose, you know, that's 16mm both ends, which will now obviously suit the fitting that I've got in the water rail now. And I'm going to re-plumb the heater back in and just see if the water comes back in like it was before, because I'm thinking that it might have actually been the fact that that Jubilee clip wasn't actually biting on the fitting. If it still does leak, and then it definitely is, you know, the heater matrix, I'm probably going to buy one of the retro forward heater matrices, which are made specifically for a Zetec application. With the original heater, I've had to cut the pipes back so that they're flush with the bulkhead here, whereas the retro forward one is already made so that the pipes are short like this, but they've also got a flare on the end of the pipes, and the angle of those pipes is a bit more suited to, you know, putting the hose on and doing the Jubilee clip up inside. Now, one thing that happened to me yesterday when I was around here, when I went to wind the window down, I don't really want to touch it today, but this sort of metal bit here that clamps around the bottom of the window actually fell off. I was able to, you know, press it back on, but it's probably not as tight as it should be now. So at some point, I'm probably going to have to bond that onto the window properly. I think in the factory, they're just sort of crimped on, but I don't like the idea of getting pliers and potentially breaking the glass. So for now, I'm just going to be very careful when I do the window up and down. But yeah, that's another thing I'm going to have to sort soon. My beautiful girlfriend Kat was actually doing some training today at work, and she wasn't sure whether she was going to finish in time to come to the dyno tonight, but she has actually finished early and she's on her way down here now. So as soon as she gets here, we're going to hit the road and head down to Surrey Rolling Road. Alright, so I've been joined by my beautiful girlfriend Kat, and we're now on our way to Surrey Rolling Road. I'm trying to not get on it, to keep the oil pressure as low as possible, which hopefully will give the sealer a better chance of keeping the oil in the sump. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that I've now set the exhaust cam to 4 degrees advanced, which was how Chris set it on the last engine. That was the sweet spot. And when I took it for a rip earlier, it's an actual noticeable difference, that 4 degrees. But yeah, I'm just gonna cruise in 6th gear. And we'll find out when I get there if I'm going to get turned away or if Esther is going to go on the dyno. Alright, so we've made it to Surrey Rolling Road. Esther is in the dyno cell with tuning genius Chris Todd. Got the old graph on the screen here. Fingers crossed nothing goes too wrong today, and we'll see how the new engine compares to the old one. Just have a quick nosy, check out this old school Evo. I'm not sure which one it is, I don't know anything about Evos, but I think it's a Evo 4, correct me if I'm wrong. Looks so cool. Raised bonnet to let the heat out. Set of Recaros in there. Check out the camo harnesses. OZ alloys. Pretty leery spoiler on the back. I think these things here are cool as well. Check that out for a parcel shelf. I think this Porsche was here last time, and then there's a Yank at the back. I can't remember what that is, but yeah. Got this TVR here now as well. Chris is doing the low load stuff at the moment. AFRs always seem to be around 13 or 14, which I think is right. I don't really know what I'm looking at, to be honest. I'll switch the camera back on when he actually does a full throttle run. .154. Yeah, the graph seems to be reading the power, the numbers at the top, but it's not actually showing the line. That's why he keeps backing off, I think, because he's not seeing the line on the graph. .167.9. Still 10 horsepower down on last time. I hope there's more in it. If I remember rightly though, it's a much more sort of smooth than last time. I'll have to double check. I'm sure last time it was a bit more squiggly than that. Oh, that fell off. .170.1. Same. Well, he's cleared all the other lines off the graph, so that might be it. 170.1. Peak still 170.1, but it's picked up a bit more power all the way here, from here to here. That's good. Yeah, that's lost horsepower, that one. I assume he's playing with a VVT now. Alright, so where I thought I'd put this on 4 degrees advanced, I actually had it just below 10 degrees. Each one of them dashes is actually 2. So yeah, we'll set it to 0 now and we'll just see what it does.
So I'm now going to go between 0 and 10 retard.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
So, because it's loving it, we're going back that way, and straight away it's just gone, yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So we're roughly 5 degrees retard now, yeah?
Retard, yeah.
Cool. Alright, so we've finished up with 184.8 horsepower, which I'm over the moon about, and round about 162-ish foot-pounds of torque, which is plenty for a road car. Massive thanks, Chris, as always.
No worries, mate, no worries.
Gracing Esther with your knowledge. And yeah, can't wait to get her on the road and see what she's like. Oh man, I need to get an LSD for this car. This is going to get me in trouble. Well, after a successful dyno session, there's only one place to go to celebrate. Thank you. Who says Mk1 Escorts don't come with cup holders? Just trying out this new bacon clubhouse double burger. They're always so much smaller than they look on the photos. Alright, so I'm back at home now and I'm going to geek out at the graphs for a bit. So the old setup made 176.0 horsepower and around 145 foot-pounds of torque. And today's session with the new setup, we made 184.8 horsepower and the peak torque was around 162 foot-pounds. On the new setup, we're above 150 horsepower at 5,000 RPM. On the old setup, we didn't get above 150 horsepower until about 5,500 revs. And on the old one, you can see the line is very, very squiggly, whereas the new one, although it's not perfectly smooth, is a lot more smooth. Now, obviously, I didn't actually test the old engine on the road, but the way she drove on the way home compared to how she has been, you know, the last week or so that I've been driving her. It's a completely different car, plenty of power for a road car. It honestly rips. Compared to Maud, it's like night and day. I mean, I don't know how many horsepower Maud has got left. Last time she was rolling roaded, it was 159 horsepower. She might only have 120, 130 horsepower left. I don't know. But yeah, Esther is rapid compared to Maud. I can't wait to get Esther down to Santa Pod to see what she'll run. Maybe it'll get into the 13s, who knows. Now, I've mentioned loads of things wrong with Esther today. Obviously, the oil leak, going to have to get another oil sump. Going to need to figure out the plumbing for the heater. Charlie at Surrey Rolling Road noticed one of the rear wheel bearings was leaking diff oil. I'm probably just going to seal it in, to be honest. I'll seal both of them in. Years ago, I never bothered using sealer on rear wheel bearings, but with Maud, I've learned just to seal them in. You know, I replaced Maud's rear wheel bearings and they still leaked. So yeah, I just seal them in nowadays. Her exhaust is annoying, the way it bangs on the leaf spring. So I really need to get another bracket welded onto the back box. And I'll probably use one of those sort of cotton reel style mounts, you know, just drill a hole in the boot floor to sort that out. When we got to McDonald's, it seems like there's brake fluid on the pedal box. So I need to suss out exactly what's going on there. Also, when we pulled into McDonald's today, the idle seems erratic. I don't know whether the throttle bodies have unbalanced themselves. You know, it was fine on the dyno. You know, car was sweet, made good power. But yeah, you know, 5 minutes down the road, there's something going on with the idle. So I need to look at that. And yeah, the list goes on and on and on. And, you know, that's before I can get to the fun stuff like getting Esther and LSD. Now, Maud, I've had to leave at my garage because the noise coming from the diff is so much worse than it has been. Probably shouldn't be driving it around with a whiny diff anyway, to be honest. I did have a quick look under the car and it seems like there's a gap between the pinion seal and the diff. So I don't know if the nut that holds the prop flange onto the diff has come loose. In my mind, I'm thinking, you know, if that ever proper failed and then the prop shaft came out and pinged off down the road, it, you know, could cause serious accident. So yeah, I've decided I'm not going to bother driving Maud until I get the diff rebuilt, and I'm going to need to get a prop shaft made or buy another RS2000 prop shaft and just live with the fact that, you know, it does poke out of the gearbox a little bit more than ideal. Which means for the next couple of weeks I'm going to be driving Winston, which Kat isn't overly happy about. I'm not overly happy about it either because it means I've got to get up at stupid o'clock in the morning to take Kat to work. So yeah, everything seems to be happening at once at the moment, but I'm not going to complain. This is the life I choose, you know, messing around with cars and stuff. But yeah, ultimately I am over the moon with, you know, just shy of 185 bhp. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment in my weird Ford-based life. Hope you all enjoyed seeing Esther making even more power on the dyno today. But for now, I'm going to end this video here. If you did think it was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe to keep up to date with all my future uploads, and check the links in the description to my social media and my website. I'll also leave my email address down there for anyone who wants to contact me. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching. And a huge thanks to everyone who jumped on the pre-order for the new MH clothing.